I stand frozen in the Nicollet Regency Hotel ballroom, my fingers trembling against the scratchy lace of my JCPenney dress. Caleb's small hand clutches mine, his tears falling silent and steady onto the polished marble floor. The crystal chandeliers above us sparkle with merciless brightness, highlighting every face in the crowd that stares at us with mixed expressions of shock, pity, and poorly concealed amusement. My sister Sabrina, resplendent in her designer wedding gown, lifts the microphone to her perfectly painted lips. A cruel smile plays across her face as her voice rings through the sound system. Let's start the bidding for this single mom and her fatherless son at $0. That's all they're worth. The words hit me like a physical blow. Scattered laughter ripples through the crowd of wealthy guests, the sound of crystal champagne flutes clinking a discordant accompaniment to my humiliation. Just 3 weeks ago, when the invitation arrived in our mailbox, I'd felt a flutter of hope. The heavy cream envelope, addressed in elegant calligraphy, had seemed like an olive branch after years of increasing coldness from my family. Look, Caleb, I'd shown him the ornate card. Aunt Sabrina's having a princess wedding. His eyes had lit up, small fingers tracing the gold-embossed letters. Will there be cake? We'd spent an entire Saturday at the mall, searching for outfits we could afford. Caleb had been so proud of his clip-on tie, practicing his bow in front of the bathroom mirror. I'd altered my dress myself, staying up late after my cafe shifts to take in the seams until it fit just right. But from the moment we arrived at the hotel, the snubs began. Our table assignment was tucked behind a large flower arrangement, far from the family seating. Our name cards were mysteriously missing. My mother Joanne had barely glanced our way during the ceremony, though she'd embraced every other guest with theatrical warmth. The sound of my mother's voice cuts through my memories. You know how it is with cafe workers? She adds from her seat at the head table, swirling her champagne. They'll take whatever scraps they can get. Caleb tugs at my hand. Mommy? His voice wavers, confusion giving way to understanding in his young face. Why are they being mean? My throat tightens. 3 years ago, Dad would have never allowed this. Charles Cooper had built Cooper Realty from nothing, treating both his daughters with equal love and respect until the day he died. The stroke had been sudden, stealing him from us before anyone could say goodbye. After that, the isolation began. First, it was forgotten birthday invitations, then missed holiday gatherings. Each time, I told myself it was just grief changing us all. I kept trying, kept bringing Caleb to visit, kept hoping the family I remembered would return. Now, watching Sabrina gesture to the crowd like an auctioneer while my mother smirks beside her, I understand how wrong I've been. I turn toward the exit, but 2 members of the wedding staff step smoothly into our path. My sister's voice follows us, sharp with mockery. Now, Melanie, don't run away, we're just getting started. Blood pounds in my ears. Part of me wants to flee, to grab Caleb and escape this nightmare. But another part, a stronger part that sounds like my father's voice in my head, tells me to stand my ground. Please, Caleb whispers, his fingers digging into mine. Can we go home? Before I can answer, a man's voice cuts through the uncomfortable laughter. I'll offer $850,000 for them. The ballroom falls silent. I turn toward the sound, my heart pounding against my ribs. A composed middle-aged man rises from a rear table, his expression unreadable. His tailored suit speaks of quiet wealth, but it's his steady gaze that captures my attention. When our eyes meet, I see something in them that I haven't seen since my father died. Recognition, respect, and something that looks remarkably like justice. The microphone slips from Sabrina's manicured fingers, landing with a screech of feedback that echoes through the stunned silence. The man in the tailored suit steps forward, each footfall echoing through the stunned ballroom. His presence commands attention without demanding it, reminding me of how Dad used to own a room. Franklin Pierce. His voice carries the weight of authority. Charles Cooper's private attorney. Sabrina's smile flickers like a faulty light bulb. This is hardly the time for business matters. She waves her hand as if shooing away an annoying fly. We're celebrating my wedding. On the contrary, Franklin withdraws a leather portfolio from his briefcase. This is exactly the right time, Miss Cooper. Or should I say, Mrs. Whitaker. Mother's fingers whiten around her champagne glass. The crystal stem trembles slightly, sending ripples through the golden liquid. Behind her, Daniel Whitaker shifts his weight from one Italian leather shoe to the other, his eyes darting between his new wife and his mother-in-law. Your father left a second will. Franklin's words slice through the tension. One that has now been legally validated. The portfolio opens with a soft leather creak. Inside, crisp documents arranged with careful precision catch the chandelier light. My heart pounds against my ribs as Franklin begins reading, his tone measured and clear. To my daughter Melanie Ann Cooper, I leave controlling interest in Cooper Realty, amounting to 92% of company shares. Caleb tugs at my hand. Mommy, what's happening? I squeeze his fingers gently, unable to form words as Franklin continues. Numbers flow past my ears: property deeds, bank accounts, investment portfolios. Each revelation strikes another crack in my understanding of the past 3 years. This is ridiculous. Sabrina's voice rises, brittle as thin ice. Daddy would never… Perhaps? Franklin interrupts. You'd like me to detail the financial discrepancies I've uncovered, starting with the unauthorized transfers from company accounts during your father's final months? Mother sinks into her chair, her perfectly coiffed hair wilting slightly. The facade she's maintained since Dad's death crumbles around the edges. 3 years. Franklin's steady gaze sweeps the room. I've watched and documented everything. The systematic exclusion of Melanie from business decisions. The manipulation of company records. The deliberate campaign to isolate her from family events. Each word illuminates memories in stark new light. The missed birthday invitations. The lost Christmas card. The family dinner cancellations. What I'd attributed to grief had been calculated cruelty. This is my wedding, Sabrina's voice cracks like a whip. But the power behind it dissolves as Daniel's parents rise from their table, faces tight with disapproval. Other guests follow. A slow exodus of rustling silk and murmured excuses. Son. Mr. Whitaker's hand closes firmly on Daniel's shoulder. A word. They move away, heads bent in intense discussion. The wedding band trails off mid-song, leaving an awkward silence broken only by the soft clink of abandoned champagne glasses. My mother stares at her hands, diamond rings glittering accusingly. You don't understand, she whispers. After Charles died, we had to protect the company. By stealing from your own daughter? The words surprise me, rising calm and clear from some deep well of strength. By teaching my son that his family sees him as worthless? Franklin approaches, another portfolio tucked under his arm. This one is older, the leather softened by years of handling. Your father wanted you to have this when the time was right. The weight of it settles in my hands like a promise fulfilled. Caleb leans against my side, his small shoulders straighter now, sensing the shift in power. Mrs. Cooper. Franklin's voice gentles. Perhaps we should continue this discussion in a more private setting? I look around the ballroom, at the scattered guests and wilting flower arrangements, at my sister's crumpled face and my mother's bowed head. At the cream-colored wedding cake, its perfectly sculpted layers are now as artificial as the family harmony they'd pretended to maintain. No. I tuck Dad's portfolio under my arm. I think everything that needs to be said has been said. Come on, Caleb. We walk toward the exit, our footsteps steady on the marble floor. Franklin follows a respectful distance behind, his presence like a shield at our backs. In the golden light of the chandeliers, I feel Dad's presence. Not in grief or loss, but in the quiet strength he always believed I possessed. Looking down at Caleb, I see the same resilience in his straight spine and lifted chin. The heavy ballroom doors swing shut behind us with a soft, final click. It's nearly 3 a.m. when I get home from the wedding and find myself deep in conversation with Franklin. The numbers on my microwave clock blur through unshed tears. 2:47 a.m. Caleb sleeps on the threadbare couch, his small chest rising and falling beneath the quilt my grandmother stitched before I was born. The leather portfolio Franklin gave me sits untouched on my kitchen table, its presence is heavy as a stone. Your father was meticulous in his planning, Franklin says, his voice soft enough not to wake Caleb. He pulls out my mother's wooden chair, the only piece of furniture she let me take when I moved out, and settles into it with practiced ease. He knew what was happening long before the stroke. The words hit me like ice water. He knew? My fingers trace the worn edge of the table, catching on a scratch from Caleb's first attempt at homework. About their everything? Franklin nods, reaching for the portfolio. Charles Cooper was nobody's fool, Melanie. He watched them push you away and saw how they treated Caleb. But he needed to be certain about something first. I wrapped my arms around myself, remembering countless Sunday dinners when Dad's gaze would linger on me, thoughtful and searching. The slight nod he'd give when I refused his offers of help, choosing instead to work double shifts at the cafe. The quiet pride in his eyes when I enrolled in night classes, determined to finish my degree. There's more. Franklin pulls out a small USB drive, holding it like it contains salvation itself. He left this for you, said you'd know when it was time to watch it. My laptop whirs to life, its fan competing with Caleb's soft breathing. The screen fills with my father's face healthy, vital, his blue eyes bright with purpose. My hand flies to my mouth, stifling a sob. Hello, sweetheart. His voice, strong and clear, reaches across time. If you're watching this, then Franklin has determined you're ready. And more importantly, you've proven yourself ready. The familiar crinkles appear around his eyes as he leans closer to the camera. I know these past years haven't been easy. Watching you struggle while having the means to help it nearly broke me. But I needed to see not just that you could survive, Melanie. I needed to know you could lead. He shuffles some papers, and I recognize the leather portfolio on his desk. What I'm about to tell you will change everything. The documents Franklin has given you transfer 92% ownership of Cooper Realty into your name, effective immediately. Along with that comes control of multiple properties, investment accounts, and the family foundation. My head spins. The numbers he quotes blur together, but their magnitude is clear. Millions. More than I could earn in several lifetimes of cafe shifts. There's a separate trust for Caleb's education and future. No one can touch it, not even you. And my personal collection, the art, the memorabiliance, all yours. You always understood their value beyond the price tags. A tear splashes onto my keyboard. I remember Sunday afternoons in his study, listening to him tell stories about each piece he'd collected. The history, the connections, the legacy they represented. You're not alone in this, sweetheart. Franklin will guide you. The senior executives, the ones who've stayed true to our vision, they're ready to support you. And there are others, old friends, who've kept their distance because of Joanne's influence. They'll come forward now. He pauses, removing his glasses to wipe them with his handkerchief. A gesture so familiar it makes my chest ache. One last thing. He looks directly into the camera, and I feel the full weight of his gaze. Daniel's mother, Margaret Whitaker, has been gathering information about Sabrina's pre-wedding manipulations. She'll reach out soon. Listen to what she has to say, but remember, this isn't about revenge, it's about restoration. The video ends, freezing on my father's face. In the silence that follows, I hear Caleb stir on the couch. His voice, cloudy with sleep, drifts over. Mommy, are you crying? I cross the room and kneel beside him, brushing back his tousled hair. 3 years of doubt and struggle crash over me, but beneath them rises something stronger: determination. My father's faith in me, his careful planning, his silent protection all this time. I won't waste it. Happy tears, baby, I whisper, tucking the quilt around his shoulders. We're going to be okay now. He smiles sleepily, already drifting back to dreams. Over his head, through my small apartment window, I watch the first hints of dawn color the Minneapolis sky. The same sky my father saw every morning from his office on the 20th floor of Cooper Tower. Tomorrow, I'll see it too. Franklin clears his throat softly. When I turn, he's holding out a business card with a phone number written in my father's distinctive hand. Margaret Whitaker's private line, he explains. Whenever you're ready. I take the card, feeling its weight another piece of the legacy my father left behind. Not just wealth or property or power, but the chance to rebuild something broken, to lead with the same quiet strength he showed me all my life. I'm ready now. The next morning, the elevator doors part silently on the top floor of Cooper Realty. My fingers trace the brass handrail, remembering how Dad would pretend to shine it with his sleeve every morning, whistling an old Frank Sinatra tune. The same security guard, Tom, stands at his post, his weathered face lighting up with recognition. Miss Melanie? His voice cracks. Welcome home. The morning sun streams through floor-to-ceiling windows, illuminating a sea of curious faces peering over cubicle walls. Some I recognize from company picnics years ago, others are strangers. Franklin walks beside me, his steady presence a buffer against the whispers that follow our path through the office. A woman in an expensive suit rushes past, phone pressed to her ear. Joanne, please, I can't talk now. She's here. The woman's steps falter when she sees me, her face draining of color. My mother's closest friend on the board, I realize. One of many who looked the other way. In Dad's office, my office now, everything remains exactly as he left it. The same leather chairs, the same vintage brass compass on the desk. Even his favorite coffee mug, the one with fishing lures printed around the rim, still sits on the credenza. They didn't dare change anything, Franklin explains, closing the door behind us. Your mother claimed she was preserving his memory. In reality, she was preserving appearances while bleeding the company dry through a series of shell corporations. My phone buzzes for the 20th time this morning. Joanne's number. I silence it without looking at the message. The audit team is ready whenever you are, Franklin says, setting a thick folder on the desk. And the PR statement about the leadership transition is drafted for your review. I sink into Dad's chair, running my hands over the smooth mahogany desk surface. A memory surfaces, sitting here at age 8, practicing my signature on his letterhead while he reviewed contracts. A leader's signature needs to be readable, Melly, he'd said. Shows respect for the person reading it. The leather squeaks as I lean forward, picking up his old Mont Blanc pen. First, show me everything they tried to hide. Every account, every shell company, every fraudulent transaction. Then we'll talk about moving forward. 3 hours later, my head spins with numbers and legal terms. But one thing becomes crystal clear: the systematic way Joanne and Sabrina worked to dismantle Dad's legacy while maintaining a pristine public image. They even tried to sell the affordable housing division, Franklin says, pointing to a buried clause in a contract. Your father's pride and joy. Not anymore. I initial the last page of the audit authorization. Call the team, full forensic audit, starting today. And freeze all non-essential expenses until we have a complete picture. A knock at the door interrupts us. Linda from HR steps in, wringing her hands. Miss Cooper, I'm so sorry to bother you, but there's a situation in the lobby. Your sister. I stand, straightening my blazer. Is she alone? No, ma'am. She brought her attorney. 3 of them, actually. Perfect. I pick up Dad's compass, feeling its familiar weight. Have security escort them to the main conference room. And Linda, make sure everyone knows their jobs are secure. The only people who need to worry are the ones who helped steal from this company. The compass arrow swings, finding true north, just like Dad taught me. My phone buzzes again. This time it's a text from Mrs. Rodriguez at Caleb's school. A video clip appears. Caleb at recess, surrounded by kids asking about his rich grandpa's company. Can we still go to the park after school? Caleb's message follows. The one with the crooked slide? Tears blur my vision as I type back. You bet, buddy, some things will never change. Franklin clears his throat. The press is gathering downstairs. They'll want a statement. I slip the compass into my pocket, feeling its solid presence against my hip. Then let's give them one. But first, I need to make a call. Picking up Dad's old phone, I dial the number for Martinez Construction. They'd been our partners in affordable housing projects for 20 years before Joanne cut them loose. Mr. Martinez, this is Melanie Cooper. I believe we have some catching up to do. The familiar sound of power tools fills the background as he answers. Charles Cooper's girl? Well, I'll be damned. Welcome back to the family business, kid. I smile, catching my reflection in the window. For a moment, I see Dad's determined expression mirrored in my own face. Family business. I repeat softly. Yes, that's exactly what this is. 6 months melt away like winter snow. The Cooper Realty office sparkles with morning sunlight as I adjust the position of my father's restored mahogany desk. His initials still gleam in the corner where he carved them 30 years ago, back when this company was just a dream. They're here, Miss Cooper. My assistant's voice carries a note of concern. Send them in, Patricia. I smooth my pencil skirt, settling into the leather chair that once cradled my father's frame. Joanne enters first, her Chanel suit hanging loose where it once fit perfectly. Sabrina follows, her wedding ring conspicuously absent. The diamonds in her ears are gone too probably sold to cover legal fees. Franklin closes the door behind them, taking his position by the window. Please sit. I gesture to the visitor chairs, simple wooden seats my father kept to remind himself of humility. Melanie, darling. Joanne's voice wavers with practiced emotion. We've missed you so much. Have you? The words slip out soft as silk. I wondered about that during Caleb's last birthdays. Sabrina shifts, her manicure chipped and growing out. We were confused back then. Daddy kept so many secrets. Charles Cooper kept records. Franklin's voice cuts through her excuse. Meticulous ones. I open the leather portfolio, extracting copies of documents they thought were destroyed. Bank transfers. Stock distributions. Private investigators' reports on my cafe job, my apartment, and my son's school. The day before his stroke, I say, laying out each paper with precision, Dad altered his morning routine. Instead of his usual coffee shop, he visited Lakeside Cafe. Joanne's fingers clutch her purse. What are you implying? He saw me carrying trays, Mom. Managing inventory. Handling customer complaints with grace. My voice stays level, though my heart pounds. He watched me build something from nothing, just like he did. You have no idea what it was like being married to your father. Joanne stands, her composure cracking. The constant lessons, the tests, the expectations. You always were his favorite. Sabrina spits, color flooding her cheeks. Perfect, Melanie, so much like Daddy. This isn't about favorites. The quiet strength in my voice surprises even me. It's about choices. Every time you excluded Caleb from family events, every time you whispered about his father at holiday gatherings, every time you chose cruelty over kindness. Silence fills the office like smoke. Outside my window, Minneapolis continues its morning bustle, unaware of the decades of pain unraveling in this room. What do you want? Joanne sinks back into her chair. Money, public apology, our humiliation. I want therapy. I pull out another document. Family counseling twice monthly. Regular visits with Caleb supervised at first. He deserves to know his family, even the imperfect parts. Sabrina blinks. You'd still let us see him after everything? This isn't about punishment. Dad's words flow through me now. It's about healing, but there are conditions. I outline the terms: financial support contingent on genuine effort in therapy, transparent accounting, no positions at Cooper Realty, but potential for future involvement if trust rebuilds. Each point lands like a stone in still water, rippling through the space between us. Why? Joanne whispers. Why offer us anything? My fingers trace Dad's initials in the desk. Because 30 years ago, a banker laughed at Charles Cooper's loan application, called him worthless. I meet their eyes. He proved that man wrong not through revenge, but by building something meaningful. That's the legacy I choose to continue. Franklin clears his throat, pride gleaming in his eyes. I see now why Dad trusted him with this moment. You have 24 hours to consider the terms. I stand, signaling the end of our meeting. Choose wisely. They rise, unsteady as newborn fawns. At the door, Sabrina pauses. For a moment, I glimpse the sister who once shared my sidewalk chalk and ice cream cones. The wedding, she says. I shouldn't have. I know. The words come easier than expected. That's why we're here. After they leave, Franklin approaches my desk. Charles would be proud. Would he? I sink back into the chair, suddenly exhausted. Sometimes I wonder if I'm being naive. He didn't build this company on naivety, Franklin says. He built it on second chances and boundaries. He taps the leather portfolio, just like you're doing now. Through the window, I watch Joanne and Sabrina cross the parking lot, smaller somehow in the morning light. The choice lies before them now: pride or healing, isolation or family. A moment later, my phone buzzes. A text from Caleb's teacher about the upcoming science fair. Real life continues, even on days that reshape everything. I smile, remembering Dad's favorite saying, business is simple. Build something worthwhile, treat people right, and always leave room for grace. Today, in this sun-filled office, I finally understood what he meant. The winter came and snowflakes danced past the towering windows of the Cooper Realty lobby, now transformed into a wonderland of twinkling lights and evergreen garlands. Children's laughter echoes through the space as Caleb leads a group of kids toward the massive Christmas tree, their small hands clutching carefully wrapped presents. This one's for Tommy, he announces, consulting the tag with serious concentration. A boy about his age steps forward, dark eyes wide with disbelief as Caleb places the gift in his arms. My throat tightens as I watch my son work his way through the gift distribution. 3 years ago, he was the only child at family gatherings, isolated by wealth and status. Now he moves among these children of single parents with natural ease, his smile bright and genuine. He has your heart. Franklin appears beside me, his voice soft. And Charles's spirit of service. Across the lobby, Joanne stands near the refreshment table, her designer outfit replaced by a simple sweater and slacks. She pours hot chocolate with careful attention, learning the names of each parent who approaches. The sharp edges of her personality have softened during months of therapy, though glimpses of the old brittleness sometimes surface when she's tired. Sabrina arrives late, snow dusting her shoulders. She hesitates in the doorway until Caleb sees her. Aunt Sabrina, he waves, unleashing a smile that still holds the pure forgiveness of childhood. Come help us with the presents. Something flickers across her face, pain, regret, hope, before she moves to join him. Their interaction is tentative but real, no longer performed for social media cameras or family appearances' sake. A small commotion draws my attention to the Christmas tree. Caleb kneels beside an open storage box, photograph in hand. Other children cluster around him, curious. Mom? His voice carries across the lobby. I found a picture. Is this Grandpa? The room stills. Parents pause in their conversations. Joanne's hand trembles slightly as she sets down the hot chocolate pitcher. Sabrina's shoulders tense. I cross to where Caleb kneels. The photograph shows Dad in his element. Sleeves rolled up, blueprints spread across his desk, explaining something with characteristic enthusiasm to a young intern. His eyes crinkle at the corners, alight with the joy of sharing knowledge. Was he a good person? Caleb asks. The question hangs in the air, weighted with history. I touch the edge of the photograph, remembering the many times I'd sat in that same chair across from Dad's desk, absorbing his lessons about business and life. The way he'd listened to my ideas with full attention, treating each one as worthy of careful consideration. He was the best. My voice emerges steady and warm, and he's still watching over us. Caleb studies the photograph. He looks happy, like he's teaching something important. He was always teaching. The words come from Joanne, who is drawn closer, even when we didn't realize we were learning. A small hand tugs my sleeve. Can we put it on the tree? a little girl asks, pointing to the photograph. Next to my daddy's picture? I glance at the tree, noticing for the first time the other photographs nestled among its branches. Smiling faces of parents present and absent, creating a tapestry of family love in all its forms. That's a wonderful idea. I helped Caleb and his new friend secure the photograph to a branch. Other children added their own family photos, transforming the tree into a living memorial of love and remembrance. Later, as the event winds down, Franklin joins me near the window. Outside, the snow continues its gentle descent, softening the city's hard edges. Charles would be proud of all of you, he says quietly. The Foundation's work with single-parent families, Cooper Realty's affordable housing initiatives. You've taken his vision beyond anything he imagined. I watch Caleb help a younger child zip up his coat, Sabrina holding the door as parents and children begin to depart. Joanne moves among them, exchanging genuine hugs and promises to meet for coffee. We're learning, I say. All of us. After the last guest leaves, I make my way to my office. Dad's leather portfolio lies open on the desk where I left it this morning, his familiar handwriting visible on the margins of old projects. In the window's reflection, I catch a glimpse of my profile. The same determined jaw, the same steady gaze he carried. The snow falls steadier now, wrapping the city in quiet possibility. I touch the portfolio's worn leather, feeling the years of wisdom pressed into its pages. Thank you, Dad, I whisper. I understand now. The legacy he left wasn't just in property deeds and bank accounts. It lives in Caleb's instinct to help others, in Joanne's careful steps toward redemption, in Sabrina's growing ability to see beyond herself. It lives in every family we help through the Foundation, every affordable home we build, every moment we choose connection over division. Standing here in the quiet, watching the snow transform the world, I finally understand what Dad knew all along, that true wealth isn't measured in dollars, but in the lives we touch and the love we leave behind.